Welcome to the She Heal to Live podcast. I am your host, your favorite lady of faith over fear, Cheryl Mazik. And this is where healing meets purpose, rooted in God's kingdom and biblical foundation. Healing isn't just about overcoming trauma. It is the key to living fully and stepping boldly into your divine purpose. Each week, we'll explore faith-based tools and strategies to help you break free, reclaim your power, and thrive as the queen that you were created to be. Make sure you subscribe so you'll never miss an episode, and leave a review. It helps spread the message of healing and faith to more queens. All right, queens, let's heal, live, and walk in kingdom greatness together. First episode of many episodes where we're going to talk about true healing, but also talk about things that we deal with as an individual, right? And so today's topic is about suicidal thoughts and suicide. It is really, really high, especially in the African American community. I remember, you guys, when suicide was just a thing where most people thought that it was people in a Caucasian background or another ethnic group background that would do suicide. But African Americans is so much higher in this day and time. And so I want to talk about it because personally, I know somebody that did take their life away recently, and it just has really been weighing on me. And so I wanted to just talk about it, talk about some things where we can do prevention so we won't get to that point, but just really talk about suicide and what all entails when it comes to suicide. So suicide, of course, is where you make a decision that you no longer want to be on the earth, in the earth, right? And so you take measures of taking your life. You are at a point where you feel like you're hopeless, like you want the noise in your head to stop. You want to be able to just come out of that place where you are in a broken state. And so a lot of things contribute to being in a place of a suicidal thought, being in a place of depression. And so what are some things that cause depression? When I just, go back and think about things, and because of who I am and what I do, I help women to heal from trauma. And a lot of trauma stems from childhood, believe it or not. Some people can have been raised in a great environment, but even if you've been raised in a great environment, you still have some type of trauma that you may have experienced and do not realize it. And some people, unfortunately, did not have the opportunity to be raised in a great environment. Some people, childhood is just very, how can I say this? Very tragic, and has caused them a lot of depression because they have not dealt with their childhood trauma. And so unhealed childhood trauma is things that cause depression and things that build up over time and build up and continue to build up. When you don't address those things, those small things turn into big things that make you feel like it's just enormous in your life. And we are going to talk about how to overcome those childhood traumas. But childhood trauma is a thing that can take you into a place of depression. All right. So life events, different type of events that happen in life, death, right? So let's talk about death. Death is one of those things where you can grieve, and you can grieve for a long time. You have some people that are still grieving for people that have passed away 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, last month. Grief is not a place where you have a certain thing where you can say, today I'm over it, right? Grief hits you in so many different stages in your life. Like for me, the most recent death that I've experienced was the death of my mother. And that's been about 3 years now. And so grief is just still one of those things. I don't cry every single day, but it could be something like a song that I may hear that remind me of her. It could be something that somebody say about her. It could be just a moment where I'm good. And then out of a sudden, out of nowhere, grief hits, and like, I really miss my mom, right? And so grief of death is definitely one of those things where it could take you to that next level where you just feel alone. You feel broken. You feel like, life is over because that person has transitioned from the earth realm. And so that's a life event that can cause depression. Believe it or not, birth, right? can cause depression. They have postpartum depression. And postpartum depression, I thank God that that's not something that I experience, but a lot of women experience that. And so even though they've had such an amazing thing that just happened, they just gave birth to and brought life into the earth, they still feel broken. They feel depressed. And so that depression can be so deep to where they feel like they want to take their life, right? That's a life event that can make you feel like you're suicidal. So that causes that depression. Divorce, separation, right? Those are heavy things that so many people go through different things in their head about what I could have done wrong, right. What did I do wrong, right? Or they may feel like they didn't do anything wrong. They may feel like the other person was the person that did everything wrong, right? But it's a place where you're in a different space, and it's an unknown space for a lot of people, and that can cause you to go into a place of depression that make you feel like you want to take your life, right? Loneliness, like loneliness is real. It's a real thing. You can be around a lot of people. You can have a house full of people. You can have a spouse, right? You can have a husband. You can have a wife. You can have children. You can have family members staying with you, but you can still feel lonely because maybe you don't feel like you're being heard, right? Maybe you don't feel like nobody understands how you feel in whatever moment you may be in life, and loneliness sets in. Like I can just recall over my life, like different stages in my life, like when I dated multiple people, and I just felt like I wasn't heard, right? I just felt like, like, do you see me? Like, does something have to happen to me for you to see me and recognize who I am? And even though I had children around, right? Even though I had family around, I still felt lonely. And that can happen a lot of times with a lot of different people being lonely, even though you're around a lot of people, but you still feel lonely. And guess what? You still can be a nice, bubbly person, because for me, I am a bubbly person. I really am. I love you like the love of Christ. And regardless, of how I may feel look on the outside, sometimes, I may feel lonely on the inside. And so loneliness is real. And sometimes people can't fathom being lonely, and it could take them in a place where they feel like they want to take their life. So that's a sign of depression, that can take you into that place. All right. So I'm saying these different things so that if you recognize these things, you can call that thing out, and then we can talk about how you can get you some help if you're in that place, right? So mental illnesses and mental health problems. A lot of people have mental health that is a part of um they're hereditary. It can be a hereditary thing that they deal with in their family, right? When it comes to mental health. And so some people recognize it, some people don't. And when you recognize it, you may not understand what's going on, right? You may not have the resources or the tools or the help to get that help when it comes to mental health. But mental health is one of those things that take you into a place of depression and also take you down the road of suicidal thoughts. Okay. So the next thing could be medication. Medication, when we popping pills for different things, you may be trying to get help with an issue. It could be a sinus issue. It can be a issue with something major that you may be dealing with. It could be hypertension. It could be blood pressure or any of those things, right? But those medications, whatever type of medications, they have side effects. And sometimes the side effect could be depression. And so you have to be careful with the type of medications that you take, because it could bring depression, and that depression can have you in a place of suicidal thoughts. So the medicine that you taking to help with an issue can be something that make you go to the edge of you wanting to take your life and no longer be here. So you got to be careful with the medications that you take, and also make sure you look at the side effects on those medications. All right. The next thing could be physical health. Like you might be at a place with your physical health where you like, I'm just so overwhelmed with how I am physically. And I just don't know how to muster up and get the strength to maintain this thing, right? You could be overweight. Right, you could be in a place of obesity, or you could be a place of where you're fragile and you are trying to gain weight. Right, your health is declining, and you don't know how to get it out of that declining state to an elevation state and be in a state of good health. So physical health could be something that can take you into a suicidal place, in a place of depression. All right. Financial issues. That is another thing, right? So when you don't have money, you're like, okay, well, how I'm going to pay these bills, how I'm going to maintain, how I'm going to be able to keep up with housing, keep up with all of these different things. Like with financial issues can come from a place of being laid off, being fired, not having income coming in. You could have lost a job because of life circumstances happening, right? You could have gotten into an accident and it just spiraled downhill from there. Okay. So financial issues is one of those things that just really cause a lot of stress in people's life. And it could bring you into a place of depression. It could bring you into a place of feeling like you don't want to be here anymore. But I want you guys to know, when it comes to not physical, when it comes to financial issues, it doesn't matter what bills you have, those bills are going to be here. Don't stress about the bills. Don't stress about the things that are tied to finances. God will provide. I promise you. And I know you might be like, well, Cheryl, it's easier said done than said. I'm sorry, it's easier said than done. And I don't feel that way. But I just want you to know, guess what? I've been there. I've been in a place where we've been broke, where we were really robbing Peter to pay Paul, but also in a place of abundance. And so I understand how it is to be in a place where I don't know how I'm going to get this done. Like I don't know how the water bill gonna get paid, or I don't know how the electric bill is gonna get paid, or I don't know where our next meal is gonna come from because things are really tight. I've been there, right? And so I just want to encourage you to know that it's not over because you don't have. God will always provide. You just have to trust him, right? And so the next thing will probably be like drugs. So you could be on drugs. You could be addicted to alcohol. And those are coping mechanisms and coping things to deal with the issues that you may have, like childhood trauma and these other issues that we talked about. And those things have led you up to a place where you are in a deep depression, right? And you may be in that suicidal place where you have those thoughts of suicide. And so all of these are different things that could have you in a place of suicidal thoughts, place of depression, feeling like you do not want to be here, you know? And so I want to say that nothing is too big for God. And I know because I have been in a place of depression. And I always like to be transparent with you guys with my journey because I'm not perfect, y'all. I'm just a woman that loves the Lord and just really want to fully operate in what God has called me to operate in, and understand that me being transparent and me being my authentic self will help you see that, hey, I'm no different than you. I am a wife, you guys. I am a mother of five. I am a grandmother, and I have experienced life. And depression is one of those things where when I came out of it, I recognized that I was in a place of depression, and I was like, I was depressed and I didn't know that I was depressed. I was depressed and I let myself go. And I didn't recognize that until, of course, I came out of depression. And I looked back and I reflected back on the years of when I was in a place of depression. And most recently, I was in a place of depression after my mom passed away. Like I just, when she passed away, I really started to question God. And I know a lot of us that were raised in the church, we would hear, well, I know for myself, I would hear, the pastor would say, you are not supposed to question God. But as I, read the word for myself and have a relationship with God for myself, I understand that you do have to ask God questions, as he will talk back to you, to give you answers for those questions. Because I just felt so lost, y'all. If I can be honest with you, I felt so lost and so broken that my mother was no longer here. I didn't know what to do. I've never been in a world, in the earth, right, without my mother until the day that she transitioned. And so it was hard. It was hard to watch the process of her having life, being vibrant in life. Like in July, we had just went on a trip to New Orleans, and just to come together as a family. And in August, she passed away. It just happened so fast, just like that. And I was hurt. And I was like, God, why? Why my mother? Like all these women in the world, all these mothers in the world, why did you have to take my mom? Right? And why did she have to go now? As I know we all have an expiration date. We all have to check out of the earth realm at some point in time. We do not know the day, nor do we know the hour. However, I'm like, why now? And as I cried out to God and as I talked to God, God gave me confirmation on some things. And he was like, it was truly her time to go, but it was my time to operate in purpose. And so I shifted in gear when he said that. And now, did I like it? No, I didn't like it, because until you lose a mother or a parent, you don't understand the type of hurt that it is. Like it's just hit different. Like I've lost a grandparent before. I lost aunties. I've lost uncles. I've lost cousins, right? However, the loss of my mother was just different. It just did something on the inside of me, and it made me start to reflect in my life. It made me start to reflect in some of the decisions that I've personally made in my life, and it made me move different. Like I want something different in my life, right? And so, as God said, it was my time to operate in purpose. That's how I really came into the place of healing, right? Into the space of being able to help people heal those broken wounds. Because guess what? I've had some broken wounds. I've had some places that needed to heal. Like, you may see me as a bubbly person, right? I'm happy go lucky. I've always been a happy go lucky type of person. That's just who my spirit is. However, I've been through some things, and those things that I've been through, it did put me in a place of brokenness. And I felt like in my life at one point I was just like, God, why am I going through all this trauma? Like I'm tired of going through trauma in this area, in this area, in this area. What is this all about, God? What is it all about? And I realized, as I talked to God, as I started to grow as an individual, as I started to make sure I read my word, as I started to do personal growth and development and really understand who I am, but most importantly, understanding whose I am in the Lord, right? It really took me to the place of what operating in purpose was and why I did have to go through the traumas. I went through all of those traumas, right, to help you guys heal, to help the women that are assigned to me to do the healing work, to heal from those traumas that they may have experienced. It could be childhood trauma, right? Like for myself, I went through some childhood trauma when it comes to like daddy issues. The relationship that I have with my father now is absolutely amazing. We have an amazing relationship. We built the relationship. However, when I was a child, my dad was not as present as I desired as a child, that I needed as a child. However, I didn't understand that when I was in my 20s. I didn't understand that when I was in my teenage years. I was mad because he was not there. He was not present, because it was things that I should have learned from my father that I did not learn, right? But I understood when I started to do my healing work, y'all, that my father, just like my father and my mother, because I had some mother wounds as well, that I had to heal from, they were just still trying to figure out life themselves. Life was happening for them. You know, they didn't understand, how to process some things that they may have went through in their childhood. And they were just dealing with those things and the demons, right, that they may have had on their back. And it affected me in childhood. But as you get older, you understand. And as you are a parent, right, you understand that parents are just trying to figure things out. They're still trying to figure out life, right? And life be lifing. And so I'm so thankful for healing. I'm so thankful for newness. I'm so thankful for the ability to work on things that may have been afflicted and that may have been wounded, right? So even though I had the childhood wound of being a fatherless daughter, we've healed that wound, right? So I've healed from that. I've healed from teenage pregnancy. I've healed from infidelity in multiple relationships that played on my identity as a woman, right? Making me feel like I was not worthy enough, like I was worthless, like something was wrong with me, right? But as you do your healing work and as you understand when people cheat on other people, whether it's a woman that cheats on a man, whether it's a man that cheats on a woman, it is things that they have to deal with, right? It's the hurts and the wounds that they have to deal with, that they are using sex with other people, relationships with other people to mask the things that they have dealt with instead of doing the healing work, right? Some people would rather, avoid, and they would rather, um, put their attention to other things in other areas and other people instead of doing the healing work. And that's what I had to understand. And so, was that easy to understand? No, it wasn't. But I had to understand that it wasn't me, it was that person, right? It may have been some things that I needed to shift and do, as a woman. However, it was not solely on me when somebody stepped out in the relationships that I was in that had infidelity tied to it. So that was something that I had to heal from. The teenage pregnancy was really big because it started to really play on my mental of like, who am I? A lot of things when it came to the teenage pregnancy, I heard older people was like, well, her life is over, she's a statistic now, what, she's ruined her life, like all of these different things. And I thank God for one of my great aunties. Her name was Aunt Jerry. She's no longer in the earth realm. She's transitioned years ago. But one of the things that she told me was, as a child, because of course she heard people talking as well, she said, don't worry about what other people have to say, right? Just truly trust God and raise your baby. Don't worry about what other people have to say. Just ask God for strength and raise your child. And that's what I did with the help of my mother and the help of my grandmother and the help of my auntie. I was able to raise my child, my daughter. I was a teenage mother. Yeah, I had a baby at 15. I got pregnant at 14 and had a baby at 15. And it was a lot. It was a lot to, overcome the things of being a parent when you're still a kid, right? You still trying to figure life out as a kid. Now you have a kid. And not understanding the stress that it brought on my mother as a single mother, because she was already a single mother. And now I've added another mouth to be fed in the household, all of that, it has some trauma attached to it. So I just want you guys to know that I've been through some things. And if I can overcome those things, and I didn't overcome it by myself, I overcame it with the grace of God, with the strength of God, with the grace and the strength of asking God for help, right? That's what I want you to understand is nothing is too big for God. Nothing is too big for Jesus. You have to ask Jesus for help. Like literally, if you are at that broken place where you just feel like things are at a point where you do not want to be here anymore, just truly, if you don't believe in God, if you don't believe in Jesus, just ask him. Say, God, I want you to show me that you are real. I want you to show me that I matter and show me that nothing is too big for you. Ask God for help. Pray. Like if you've never prayed before, just pray. Just open up your mouth and pray. Praying is just asking, it's conversation between you and God. Ask him for help. And start reading your word, the Bible. If you don't have a Bible, go to Amazon, go to a local bookstore, go to any store, Walmart, Target, whatever store in your area that carry books, they have Bibles. Get a Bible, open up your phone, go to a Bible app, look up areas, right, that you are dealing with. So if depression is that thing, you can Google Bible verses on depression. Google Bible verses on healing. Google Bible verses on faith. Google Bible verses on hope. Google things that are tied to the issues that you are having so that you can read God's word and read it back to Him. Where it said, like if you're dealing with sickness in your body and you're over the sickness, read Bible verses on healing, right? It says in your word, God, that by your stripes I am healed. I am believing and I am having faith that my body is healed because your word said, by your stripes I am healed, right? So call that thing out to God. Read His word back to Him, right? So start to read your word. And then lastly, you guys, ask for help. Like find that person that you truly trust, like that trusted person, and say, you just have to let the pride die down. Say, I need help. Like I'm struggling in this area. I need help. Can you help me? Right? And if you don't have that person, there's always resources out there where you can get some help. So I did Google a resource, and one of the resources that they have is a very easy, simple thing that you can do. You can call 988 from any phone, and it should be able to connect you with somebody that can help you with the suicidal 1-800 hotline. It is open 24 hours. You can send a text message. You can text 988. Let them know what you're dealing with. There's also a website that you can go to that's called 988lifeline.org. Know that help is there. Know that you are not alone. Even though you may feel like you are alone, you are not alone. God is always there. There's a Bible verse, well, not a Bible verse, but there is two things, right? One is a Bible verse, and that Bible verse is, I think it's Philippians. I don't know. I don't want to tell you the wrong verse, but it is, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That is one of my favorite Bible verses. I think it's in Philippians, but I don't know exactly, so I don't want you to quote me on it. But you can go to Google and put, I can do all things that Christ is, who strengthens me, and the Bible verse will come up for you. So I have that as a reminder because sometimes I need the strength of God. I need the strength of Christ because I can't do it by myself. I cannot do it by myself. And so I just want you to know that you are not alone. And when you think that God is not there, I want you to remind yourself. Say, I trust you, God, when I cannot trace you, when I don't see evidence of you being here, right? Or you doing something. I'm going to trust you. I am going to trust you. The biggest thing that I want you to understand is that if you are still here, if you are living, if you have breath in your body, that means that God is not through with you yet. There's work that He wants you to do. And the trauma that you are experiencing is more than likely tied to the purpose work that God has for you. And that it is not over. You do not have to take your life. Your life is precious. And somebody is waiting on you to understand that you are worthy, that you are enough. So I just want to encourage you to know that you are so needed in this world. If God woke you up, that means He is not through with you yet. So I want to encourage you that if you need help, do not hesitate to reach out to people that can help you. If you've reached out to all those resources and you still do not have help that you need, feel free to email me, and the email will be listed below to let me know what you need help in. And I will try my hardest to help you get the resources and get the help in your area to help you where you need help in, because we want you to know, as a lady of faith over fear, and with the She Heal to Live podcast, that your life matters. And so I love you if nobody has told you that. I'm going to tell you today, Queen or King, because I see men are watching the podcast as well. And so we welcome you here. You are loved. I love you because of the love of Christ. And know that your life is worth it. You are worth it. Pray and ask God to help you, and He will. So have an amazing, amazing day on purpose. Know that you need to heal so that you can live. So thank you so much for watching this episode on today. I look forward to bringing the next episode on next week. Next week episode is going to be with an amazing founder of a domestic violence outreach program that help women that are affected by domestic violence. And she's going to share her story of how she was able to come out and how she's able to go back and help those that were in the situation and a part of the area where she dealt with domestic violence, right? So remember, whatever your trauma that you're tied to, that you're dealing with, 9 times out of 10, your purpose is tied to that type of trauma. Okay. So make sure you tune in next week, same place, same time, for an amazing episode with the amazing Tahira Ogletree as she shared her story about how she was able to overcome domestic violence and how she's able to bring others out. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you on the next episode. Wasn't that an amazing episode? I want to thank you for tuning into the She Healed to Live podcast. I hope today's episode inspired and equipped you to take another step into your healing journey. If you love what you heard, don't forget to like this episode, subscribe so you'll never miss what's next, and leave a comment and a review to share your thoughts. Your feedback not only supports the show, but it also helps other queens find their way here too. Remember, healing is the foundation for living fully and stepping into your divine purpose. Keep shining and walking in your greatness, queens. Until next time, stay blessed and keep healing to live.